Alright, Miss Leslie, I apologize at the beginning.
It wasn't me either. I wanted another.
So, I've never been a groomsman before, but when Landry asked me to be one, I agreed to the responsibility. And my first goal of getting Landry to the altar on time and somewhat sober, and eventually married, was obviously a success. So now is the hard part for me. So Landry, you must know that I love you because not only am I standing up here tackling my fear of public speaking, but I'm doing it in a countryside get-up you made me wear. So it couldn't be worse. That's alright, I forgive you. So, obviously I'm nervous, but I took the advice of my wise older sister back in college to take a shot before a big speech. It never worked before. But here's the reason it works now. Oh, that was rough. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Trey Bartsch, Landry's cousin, second cousin. I don't want anybody thinking I'm a Hill Big or a Tucker. But we grew up a couple hundred yards down 535 from each other, and we've been best buds ever since. Now, in the brainstorming process for this speech, I sat and I tried to think of what I was going to talk about Landry. And then I realized that, you know, traditional groomsmen speeches are about bringing up embarrassing stories and sharing them with all his friends and family. And anyone who knows Landry knows he has embarrassing stories. The kid somehow gets in the most humorous situations, almost unbelievable sometimes. But I said, you know what? I'm better than that. Not my place to get up here and talk about that. Like, I'm not going to talk about the time Landry streaked through downtown Rockney because it was a wager on a beer pong game in which he wasn't even playing in the game. Or I'm not going to talk about Landry's weird obsession with chick flicks. I'm not going to talk about how Landry has such bad eyesight that on the duck hunt, he shot one of Steve's decoys thinking it was a real duck. And then felt so bad afterwards that he almost threw up. And I'm not going to talk about how, in all of our years of school, Landry made sure that no piece of food on the lunch plate went to waste. So Landry, I thank you for my thinness. I owe it all to you. So like I said, I'm not going to bring up in detail those stories. I'm going to bring up embarrassing pictures with the stories. If I can figure this out. So, when I first met Landry, he was a washed-up one-year-old. Didn't seem like he had any friends, and he looked goofy with those big old eyes, but I said, what the hell, maybe he'll grow on me. Before we knew it, we were best buds. And we were always very different. You know, Landry was into 4-H and FFA, and I was always into technology and gadgets and stuff like that. But I think why I liked hanging out with Landry so much is because he always had me cracking up. All the time. I'm not sure why he liked hanging out with me, but it might have something to do with four-wheelers and corn dogs. Then as we got into our teen years, I was the oldest out of all the Tucker boys, and needless to say, the lightest drinker. So, I always found myself, you know, chauffeuring them around that big green Suburban I used to drive, which we found out can actually hold 14 people, if anybody's wondering. But Landry in particular became more acquainted with what we call the bourbon than anybody else. Whether it was passing out in it after a party, puking crawfish all down the side of it, which took me forever to get off, or hiding underneath it from the cops for an hour at a party. We always had good times in the bourbon. So then we graduated, and instead of doing what we always talked about, which was moving off to A&M and rooming together, which I guess you could say we were already getting a little of what they call Aggie brainwashed by our sisters. Luckily that didn't materialize. But so we decided to do our own thing. And I remember when I told Landry I was moving to Louisiana, I'm pretty sure I broke his heart. And for the next 5 years, I would get these long, drawn-out voicemails where Landry was giving me his best drunken rendition of the song "What's Forever For" by Michael Martin Murphey, as if we were an old couple that had broke up. So I remember one day in late May, I got done with my semester, and I was like, you know what? I haven't been home in a while. Landry always asks me, every time I talk to him, he's like, when are you coming home? And I always respond, when are you coming to Baton Rouge? So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to come home, I'm going to hang out with Landry this weekend, it's going to be fun. So I get up early, I'm pulling out of Baton Rouge, I stop and pick up Landry's favorite Louisiana beer, Purple Haze. And I get to Rockney later that evening, pull up to Mike Tucker's, which is where Landry was living at the time. And I walk through the door, ready to hang out. And this is how I find Landry. Passed out in the recliner upside down. I then realized the Rockney golf tournament was earlier that day, so I completely understood.
Yeah.
So then, I always told Landry, you gotta come to Baton Rouge, and everybody else for that matter. And I remember when he told me, you know what, I'm gonna come up there with Keaton and some other people, and I couldn't believe it, because Landry doesn't really get out of Rockney too much unless it's to go hunting or something, so I knew, coming all the way to Baton Rouge was a big deal. And I think he may have had too good of a time. This was him most of the day, wearing a beer helmet and dancing with his best, what I like to call Ricky inherited moves. His best characteristic, in my opinion. So he had a good time. He didn't exactly make it to the game, but that's alright, it happens to the best of us. Maybe next time. Alright, let me see where I'm at here. So, all in all, we had some great times together. Whether it was summer nights at Amy's, sorry Johnny, or in Scott's shed, sorry Gary, or cruising the back roads in the Bourbon, or on duck or turkey hunts, or wherever else we happen to end up. Oh man, I wish I could rewind that. Hold on. See if I can. Hold on, let's go.
There we go.
Right there. Everybody needs to see that. I made it a little bit PG and I put censored on there. But we always had a great time with Landry, wherever we were. But enough about our love story. Tonight's about Landry and Jenny. And I'm just going to leave that up there for y'all to see. Now, I don't know Jenny too well, but I know that Landry truly loves her, so she has to be a wonderful person. And I think marriage is going to be good for Landry. It's going to teach him about love, loyalty, devotion, patience, all the things he wouldn't have to worry about if he had just stayed single. But marriage is about being with someone you spend the rest of your life with. It's about trust and faithfulness, but it's also about sacrifice, which is why, Jenny, you're going to need to let Landry duck hunt several times a month. Yes, a month. Get crazy when I'm in town, and at least make a few more trips with me to Louisiana. Now that we've agreed to that, right? Right? Now that we've agreed to that, let's all raise our glasses for a toast. Here's to Mr. and Mrs. Pittypuff and their great new life together with their sweet little girl Cameron. Welcome to the family, Jen.